No, yeah. And then over to the chairs.
Sorry I'm late, everybody. Is Ally,
Yeah, she's on Zoom.
she's on there too? Okay, perfect. So we're all set to go. We got a quorum. Any adjustments? No, I don't see any.
Unless you want to move the minutes below our guest.
I was just gonna say, I'm gonna hold off on the minutes and just jump down.
Yeah, we have three folks here from the state of Maine. Stephen Mallory was the director. Stephen, can you please remind me your title and then introduce for the record, the folks that are with you?
Sure. Steve Mallory, I am the Director of Operations and Response for MEMA. One of the divisions I'm responsible for is dam safety. With me is I have two of my staff, Tara Ayotte, who is the Dam Safety Administrator, and Anna Popperreiter, which is one of my engineers as well. We figured it would be best to cover the engineering side, operation side, the administration side, all on one call.
That sounds great to me. I'm gonna turn it right over to you guys. I'll let you start your presentation. We'll go from there.
Tara, do you want to, you're kind of one that set this up if you want to start. If not, I can kind of go down through. She's been texting me, so I know that she's on. All right, I guess I'll begin. Um, just looking down through the notes, I guess you kind of wanted to kind of know a little bit about the history, I take it, on the dam. Tara says she's talking, but we couldn't hear her, so she's obviously got some audio problems. Um, I actually went out there last summer and took a look at it too. I know that my state dam inspector has been out there and taken a look at it. Tony Fletcher, for those of you that don't know, Tony's been around for a long time. I brought him back from out of retirement because we need a state dam inspector who was a PE, and um, thankfully he came back. He's in acting capacity, so he's doing all the reports. Um, I see that you do have a copy of your emergency action plan. I don't know if that's is kind of what you want to talk about too. Um, but scanning the file earlier, basically the recommendations, I don't know if you're aware of the recommendations that we did to improve the safety of Haley Pond was, definitely test that emergency action plan. Test the gate one cycle during the 2002 spring runoff. Root out and remove all brush growing on the riprap before winter. Prepare a remedial action plan to restore all concrete work, riprap, and embankment settlement. Submit the RAP to MEMA by December 1, 2022. Um, I know there was some concern. I believe it was this summer where a complaint came in from DOT in regards uh, to that dam in itself. So. Um, I'm not really concerned about roads. I know that's cold and harsh, but dam safety legislation is life safety and then property damage. Um, Looking through your EAP, I know that you did update it, or it looks like you updated it, and it looks very good. So I have really no issues on that part. Um, and let's see, did Tara get on with audio, or am I on my own?
Looks like she's unmuted, so.
Okay. I guess I will just turn it to you folks for questions, or if Anna, you had anything to add from the engineering perspective, please feel free.
I will say when I reviewed the file and the EAP, I was very pleased to see that the EAP was updated and actionable. But when I was reviewing Tony's report from 2021 and the previous report, as well as the survey of the site that was taken in 2014, you guys have a tricky situation there. You don't have a lot of wiggle room with this dam. You have one gate. You have one very restrictive channel that then narrows a little more under the DOT bridge there. and you've got a couple of embankments. The retaining walls on the upstream side have seen better days. Your gate structure is cracked on both sides. So beyond just speaking to the concrete repairs and the recommendations that were made in Tony's report on that count, uh, I'm not sure that outside of a redesign of the dam, that there's a lot to be done about mitigating flooding during high rain events, other than just making sure that that pond level is lower before you have that incoming storm event. Because, like I said, you guys kind of a very very tricky, restrictive kind of structure there. That there's not a lot of wiggle room to mitigate that flooding outside of just lowering the pond. And yeah, that's what I wanted to observe.
Right, thank you. If we ever wanted to do something to that dam that's on our nickel, DOT or any, no state agencies that have anything to do with that, or?
That's a good question. So that was kind of the thought I was having as Anna was talking there, you know, the design of it, you're right, we are restricted, and our methodology has been to try to keep that low before a known storm event comes in. And that's caused some of the reason for this committee in the first place is to find a level of the water that, you know, we can set for policy purposes so that everybody knows what we're doing. But back to the question of design, if we were, one of the thoughts that I've had is it would be awful nice if this had a transducer on it or some type of automatic level system, which is probably very expensive, but that would involve, I'm sure, some type of redesign. Are there programs out there that the town could participate in or research that might help us with a redesign at the state level?
I don't want to speak on behalf of Anna because I just full disclosure, I am not an engineer, never have been. I'm just been a dumb police officer for 36 years. So, but I would just say that, you know, if you have any thoughts or ideas, definitely send them to us. And obviously we can have the engineers take a look at it. And I know that Anna is very well versed in this dam as well. So kind of one of the reasons I had her on this call. But, you know, if you have any thoughts or ideas, you know, send them to us and we'll take a look at them. There's 5 engineering firms across the state that we typically point dam owners to that are familiar with dams. You know, we wouldn't want to steer you in the wrong direction by getting an engineer that's not really well versed in, you know, dam safety. And dam safety is really unique, right? I mean, you can't go to the University of Maine and say, "Hey, I want to take dam safety 101." There is no such thing. So you really got to be a specialist in this field, and we have some that we really rely on that's been in the business for a long time. But, you know, anything like that, you know, always, you know, reach out. I try to keep a very receptive, you know, forward-leaning folks. You know, there's what 1,300 dams in the state of Maine, 1,100 dams in the state of Maine. So we are busy, but we try to, you know, obviously when someone reaches out to us looking for some help, we'll try to do what we can. So with that, just a little backstory too. I testified this fall. There are some dam safety legislations going through that passed, which will help improve our staffing. But of course, and I shouldn't say this, but they tabled it, so it will be in the spring before they will vote on it again. So that may give us some help. It also sets up a municipal bond bank too for municipalities that you can. The way that we wrote the bill was you can use the bond bank, but this, and I hate to say this too, but it's in the law, is there may be a forgiveness or there is a forgiveness side written into it. So don't, you know, definitely not concrete or set in stone, but those laws have been passed and they've all been tabled for the next legislature to come in to move on them because they do have a physical note with them. So that's kind of good news for us. We worked really hard to get those 3 bills passed, and they have passed. So we're just waiting on that. So I don't know if Anna, you had anything from, again, the engineer perspective that you could help them with?
Well, I know the question that you brought up, sir, was is there any kind of funding assistance? Am I right? That was kind of
Yeah, that was,
yeah. And to that end, I know Steve mentioned this bond that was in the bill, but outside of something like that, and outside of a high hazard dam that is in poor condition, uh, there's not a lot of funding out there for small dam owners, for even for significant hazard small dam owners. Um, a lot of the funding that I have been aware of in the time that I've been with Maine Emergency Management Agency has been in dam removal. So if you all were thinking about removing the dam, I'm sure that American Rivers or the Atlantic Salmon Federation or a nonprofit like that uh, would possibly have some interest in that if their selected species would benefit from a return to a more natural channel as opposed to the very much culvert looking channel that you all have right now. But outside of dam removal, it feels like the funding, the public kind of funding, is very limited. So if you did go to one of our local engineering companies here in Maine, um, they would obviously be working with you on what the budget might look like and different alternatives for different budget levels as far as what your goals were with any kind of retrofit, rehabilitation, or redesign. And I think I'll leave it at that. But yeah, there's not a lot of funding, unfortunately, when you are talking about uh, dams that are not high hazard.
what involvement would your organization have if the town considered or decided it wanted to remove the dam? I don't think that's on the table right now, but that certainly has been one of my thoughts, in looking at this. Do you have, is there some process, would you have to approve the removal of the dam?
I can jump in, Anna. So just for clarifications, we're only focused with dam safety. So you would have to go to DEP and file permits with them. Even changing the water level is all done through DEP, and they actually would be the ones that could approve that. But I guess to grease the skids, you can always send a proposal to us, and I could have the engineers take a look at it. And then obviously DEP would take that control. Um, if you've been watching the news lately, in regards to dams, and it's fine if you haven't, I kind of geek out on a little bit, but we have three dams in other parts of the state that the dam owner was a mill. They filed for abandonment, and there's actually, believe it or not, a clause in the legislation that you can just abandon a dam. It's a lengthy process, but they've done it, and all three of those dams are high hazard, so it's been quite a bunch of heartburn for us, and they're in the final steps right now of giving up those three dams. But the reason I mention that is there's a bunch of state agencies that get involved with that, and obviously DEP is the lead. And then, believe it or not, IF&W has a bunch of dams, and they have a say as well, obviously to Fish and Wildlife. And then it comes to us. So, um, yeah, if you just want to look at Toddy Pond, Alamoosic, and Silver, the three big dams down there in Bucksport area, they did file for an abandonment. It looks like they're going to get it, but luckily the five towns joined together and created this group, and it looks like they're going to take it over. And I can't say that definite, but it looks that way. So, with this, I was kind of looking. Um, obviously that's an option for you. I was giving you guys options of what you want or what you need. And I understand, small towns that are really working on a tight budget. It's very expensive. Repairing dams is very expensive. It's a lot of work involved. Engineers obviously aren't cheap. and they're pretty expensive. I am completely blessed that I got Anna. Fantastic. She's been with us for a while, and I do everything that I can, including wine and alcohol and everything else to keep her keep her employed. But no, I'm teasing. But it's very difficult to keep professional engineers involved or with state government. And I've been very, very blessed to have Tony and Anna working for us. So with that being said, again, those 5 companies, and I can have Tara send you those 5 companies, and we work very close with them. That could help you out. And, the biggest thing is, if you go out and get an estimate, see what you got and see what needs to be done. Luckily, we've already given you some recommendations. Um, you know, I don't know if you guys have tested that gate one cycle during the spring runoff. I don't know if that's happened. Just if you have a copy of that latest inspection report, just look at the 5 things that we recommended, and see if those have been done. Um, Unfortunately, again, with 1,100 dams across the state, it's very difficult for us to stay on top of dams with a small staff, after we send our recommendations. And I have reminders to myself to follow up on some dam inspection reports where we put recommendations on it. But due to the nature of staffing and the amount of dams, is we pretty much focus on the high hazard dams first, right? It's going to cause, what's going to cause the most damage or have life safety issues. Then we get into significant hazards, and then obviously on the bottom is low hazard, which we deal with them when a municipality complains or a county director complains. So that's kind of where we are. And I always tell folks, been in this business for a while, and there's really 3 things that I look as a really plain and simple guy that comes to dam ownership. And one is you really, really need to have an EAP, emergency action plan, if that thing fails. Was deployed to North Carolina last fall and saw some major damage with small creeks and dams that were designed for 500-year floods, which were gone. So obviously, having an emergency action plan is number one for life safety. The other thing is I always recommend is operation and maintenance plan. Make sure that you have that so your folks know how to run that dam, and make sure that it works. And the number one actually is about the most simplest thing that I've ever seen is mow the lawn and clear out the brush. And I know that Anna could chime in, but really what happens is if you don't mow that lawn, and I don't think I think there was some root out and remove all brush growing on the riprap before winter. The water will follow, rain will follow those the root balls down and cause a lot of erosion, a lot of problems. So just 3 simple things that will go a long ways to help out. I think that's what I've got. I did look at your EAP as well. I think that looks fairly decent. I don't really see any issues on that. Actually, I like it. It's a really good emergency action plan.
All right, well, thank you, guys. Ned, you got any questions? Nothing? Ally, you got anything? Oh, I see she's muted too, so. All right, you got anything else, Joe?
Just one last question, Stephen, if you could, it's not really a question, it's a request. If you could email me or have Tara email me the LD that you referenced earlier that was tabled, and also some contacts at IF&W and or DEP that might be good people for us to talk to about the waterway.
Sure.
Hi.
Sure. Was that
Do I have audio now?
Yeah, you do now, Ally. Just I was curious if you had any questions.
Oh, perfect. No, I guess I would just want to go on the record as saying my vote would be to just repair the dam as the report had suggested. And I don't know, I don't see any major problems with it. I own the property right there, and I mean, we've had a couple issues, but if we follow the protocol and keep the pond low enough before a big storm, I haven't seen a lot of issues in the 100 years that it's been there. I'm a little resistant to change and making it all AI and automatic, I guess, and changing the look of Rangeley. But I think we can make it work as is, as long as we can come up with the agreed upon water level for the pond, which I don't think we're that far off from now, but that would just be my 2 cents.
All right, thank you.
Just to follow up on that, Ally, the only reason that I mentioned dam removal, is because that's where I've seen the funding come from.
Oh, yeah, totally.
That's where I've seen the money come from, is from dam removal. So that's the only reason why I mentioned that.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't
yeah.
even referring to what you had said. It was just something that I'd heard in the committee another time that
Yeah.
that day I didn't speak up and say anything, so I thought I should say it today. Yes, absolutely. I totally know where you're coming from. Totally.
Absolutely. Awesome. Yeah. And just to coordinate any actions that you guys decide to take, definitely with DEP. And DOT, has they have a dog in this race too, with that small culvert that's located, immediately downstream of the dam. So if you guys decide to do something, I wouldn't hesitate to reach out to DOT as well, and maybe, bounce your ideas off of them, because like I said, they've definitely got a dog in this race as well with that bridge, that small culvert that's under that bridge just downstream of the dam.
All right, thank you. Do you have anything else, Joe?
Almost set, thank you.
Well, thank you guys for being with us tonight, and depending on what direction we end up going in, we might be sending you some stuff for you to take a look at, so thank you.
Sure, our pleasure. Just for the record, LD 1382 and LD 1848 off the top of my head. 1382 was an act regarding dam repair. LD 1848 was an act to recommendations for improved dam safety, and that is off the top of my head. So don't hold me to that, even though you recorded it. Laura Pay is our contact at Maine DEP. And Tara can put her numbers in, and she is absolutely fantastic, very receptive, and knows her stuff. I talk to her every week. So, and great point, Anna. Really, really, DOT does have some skin in the game. So, with that, always welcome. Give us a call. Maybe I'll see you in skiing season, which should be soon, right?
Snowing pretty good here today, so yeah, it'll be right away. Well, folks, thank you so much for zooming in tonight. Appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Thanks again, team.
Thanks. I know we reached out to Inland Fisheries, where you were going to, a couple meetings ago, we talked about them. Have you had a chance, or?
So that the contact I had reached out to, I haven't heard back from. Did once, then I didn't hear back. So I'm gonna rekindle that flame for a future meeting. I'll probably reach out to this person too.
And yeah, I was gonna say the DEP and the DOT.
See if we can't get them in for a round of discussion.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of narrow our scope down a little bit.
No.
Just because at this moment the pond is drained to its winter level. It's down as far as it can go.
Mhm.
With a yardstick at one place and a tape measure at another place, I believe I know where that high water mark should be. And both places, it showed anywhere between 30 and 32 inches higher than it is now. And those are the levels that I've seen over the years when we know the pond is full and pristine, water's flowing properly out of the gate. The rings around the rocks are 30, 32 inches. Is varied because of the pond's level. But that's pretty much all I've been able to investigate since the pond has got down to its bottom level for the winter runoff. Just keep that in mind. It's my only addition to this right now.
Do you know the delta between that and the mark that's painted on the?
Don't believe the mark. The
I'm just asking if you know the difference.
whoever was running the gate and for instance, the two guys who were running it, they said, we were told to open the gate. But they weren't told how much to open it or when to close it. You know, that's how poor it was. And that can be changed. It's surely a big endeavor to do a lot of the work down the channel. The concrete that holds the waterworks working is semi-compromised.
Hmm.
But again, as I said before, it wouldn't be hard to measure a board to put on the boards that are there. When it's shut, it's 30 inches. It gives you another inch of water to flow over the top, is when the water is flowing over the top. And more so is when you open the gate up. But this is the time of year to do it because the water is low. Joe, I don't know who in the town, whether you contract it to somebody or there's a public works group that all they have to do is get a 2x3 hardwood plank that's the distance, the width of the gate, and make sure it's probably 12, 14 inches. Measure it up. Otherwise, again, as I said, we're gonna have the same problem all next spring and summer. Unless they want to open the gate up and empty the pond so they can do the work, close the gate and hope we have rain, which we haven't had 2 summers in a row. That's my my arrogance here. Bah humbug.
I'm just gonna jump back up. I jumped over public to speak. Dennis, I know you're sitting here. Do you have anything you wanted to?
Yeah, just, you know, been involved with the dam on different things over the years. It's just that there should be some system set up, and there has been attempts in the years before to do something about somebody that could watch the dam, number one, and watch the weather. So you could anticipate a storm coming. You could anticipate, pre-position yourself to accept that storm based on the forecast about inches and stuff, and you can tell all that. That way, to be more active instead of reactive. All right, it's rained for 3 days, we've got to run down over the dam. You know, instead of let's make some room for the water that's coming. Plus, we have a big thing in the summertime there about the folks on the pond. They would like to maintain a certain level for their activities, their boats, their docks, those kinds of things. So the person that's doing that control needs to have that in mind as well. But there should be a plan or a system by where you could, you know, proactively operate the dam, not just do it as a reactive thing.
I totally agree. It's not that hard work to turn on the news and see that a whole lot of rain is showing up in 3 days.
Now, you could update the dam with some things like automatic gate operation where somebody could probably sit at a cell phone. Rain's coming, I'm gonna open up the gate, punch a few things in and the gate's gonna automatically open or whatever. Or you could have some different limits set on this and that type thing, but that'll cost a few bucks. But I don't know, how's the concrete structure itself that's holding the dam?
It's compromised,
It is.
but not, it's been looking compromised for 10, 15 years.
I mean, that it could probably use some repair, not replacement. That's what you're saying, probably, right? Yeah, because if you look at where the water goes out, the actual bottom of the pond is actually quite high there. So if you were to take the dam out and leave it there, you're gonna lose about 4 feet of water.
And you're gonna have Bug City all around Main Street in the summer.
And then you can have all those yellow perch in the other pond and rings. But I don't think you're gonna see landlocked salmon coming up
No.
the river there and going into the pond. It's a shallow pond. It's what, like 12, 15 feet deep?
The deepest parts are 24.
And so in the summertime, the temperature at the bottom of the deepest place is not good for, the species not looking for that kind
I
of,
caught a couple of trout down that deep
yeah.
and they're cold in my hand. But the thing is, because it's been low,
Right.
the pond warms up faster and invasive species and all the other different things. It's got to be at a higher level to keep it cool enough to maintain the wildlife.
And there's nothing we can do about that. So we could probably say that the pond itself is not a great issue as far as fish coming up to the pond. So having said that, the only other reason, there's really no other reason to take the dam out. The really main reason is for water control and flooding.
Absolutely.
And the residents on the pond being able to, use the pond.
Yep.
But, so maybe if you could put some money into upgrading a little bit, the automatic stuff, you can get an engineer that can figure that stuff out for you and tell you exactly what it costs. But there are gonna be those engineers, you gotta watch it. There's gonna be those engineers like everything else that wanna come in and build you a Cadillac. And then you may find an engineer that says, this is pretty much all you need here.
Yes.
Your basic stuff is good here. We can just set up some controls or some gearboxes in there so that it can be electrically operated. So you can operate the dam remotely if you had to. Whatever. I mean, to find the right people to do that. Yeah. Now,
If I could just chime in real quick. I agree with everything you said, sir. I apologize, I don't know your name, but just about everything that you said in the beginning, really kind of reinforced what I said about the O&M plan. And I can have Tara send you a copy of a template that we use. That operations and maintenance plan, you can actually, you can make it as in-depth as you want by delegating personnel and everything else, and you can make it really intricate of what you need, or you can make it just as basic as you want. But it's a plan, right? It's something that you can follow, folks can follow. And if things go wrong, you can follow that. And obviously you incorporate the emergency action plan into it. But a lot of the things that you said, that O&M plan really, really captures a lot of that. And, there's no sense, reinventing the wheel. We can send you a copy of what other dams have used, and you can copy it and use it. But it's all buy-in, right? You got to get all of your folks to agree that, hey, if we're gonna, get 6 inches of rain, we need it at this level or whatnot. And that's where we run into problems, right? Is not everybody agrees on everything, but I think that's having the consensus of the group is to say we all agree on this, and all in favor, aye, all opposed, move forward, and that's going to be your O&M plan. And I guess I'll put the olive branch out there if you want me to help facilitate that in one of your meetings or whatnot. I'm sure that we could do that, but just, again, that O&M plan is very crucial to operation of any dam. So anything that we can do to help out, we can do that.
there's one more thing, Jimmy, the DOT, in the past, they've been very adamant about, we tried several times. They're very adamant about the box culvert piece that goes under the road, they will take care of. They will not take care of the two retaining walls that go from the box culvert to the dam.
Gotcha.
And so repairs to that or work to done that, or the bottom of that sluice way.
Yeah.
And so that's where we've had trouble before. They haven't wanted to participate in give us any help on doing any repairs to those things.
Good to know.
Well, I mean, that may have changed, maybe different people, but it certainly wouldn't mean that you wouldn't want to ask them. That's for sure.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Explore every avenue.
Yeah, but it's good to think of it. We talked about this a little bit in the last meeting. You got to think of the whole area there as a system. There's the policy question of, what's the water level? We do need to figure that out. That's kind of the baseline of, your O&M plan is going to be based on that, how much water you have to let out. And the fire department has taken over operations of this, and Chief and I have been talking about, he's looking at it that way, because he thinks of gallons of water all the time. So we've got that, and having a template would be very useful for us. That'll expedite the process of putting that plan together. But it is a system. So there's the work of this group, and then there's, the capital planning of the board, selectmen, and myself looking at this thing long term, because there's also a siphon sewer line underneath there too. So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on there that's going to need to be looked at. But it really does, the genesis of what we need to look at is the level of the lake, right? Where's that start from? And what do you want to do with the dam? So good conversation. It's helping me a lot. I'm very glad this committee came together, because I was, as Ned knows, I was really frustrated with where we're going with this thing. So this is helpful.
Well, the advantage you have someone that lives on the dam and knows the nuances of the water level there. And so I would go after that asset to help me in understanding of developing a plan. Make sure you get that that input, because that's valuable input. I mean, somebody's sitting right there watching it every day.
Knowing how land is saturated or dry.
Right.
Because it can soak up a lot of water if it's dry, and if it's not, it doesn't go anywhere but into Rangeley Lake.
The only thing we've had in the past with some people on the pond, I remember years ago, was that there was concern, some people, they were mainly concerned about themselves first, about the level of the pond, and they weren't, let's just say, real excited about doing, preparatory things for a storm coming and stuff like that. Because they felt they didn't want to lose the water in anticipation of a storm coming where the water's come back up. So, but, those folks, I haven't heard anything from them, but, you know, but somebody such as yourself, you know, and, understands that piece of it. You know, understands you gotta prepare for the flooding.
Not just that, understand that when the pond is full, it's a beautiful piece
Oh,
of
yes.
water, and when it's empty, it looks like a mud flat.
Yeah.
And when it's halfway there, rocks and stumps show up.
Yeah, so it just takes some fine tuning to do that, somebody to keep their eye on it and, be more proactive than reactive. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I thank Joe for, you know, carrying the ball when I went in his office for the first time and explained my frustrations, which have been for 40 years, 30, 40 years, a long time since I've been able to put a Rangeley boat up to my dock. Without a few days later, it's sitting on rocks.
Right.
Not good for a wood boat.
And you know, I typically achieve both, or the majority of the time you can achieve happiness with everybody. And protect the folks downstream.
Yeah. This spring, the pond was at a great level, and then we ran out of water. It was just a crappy summer.
I was gonna ask you, is there anything, what's the deal on the sides of the brook after it goes through the box culvert? That's caving away and falling apart, isn't it?
So
Down behind the log.
interesting
Sure, right.
that you bring that up, because there was a resident at the last meeting who voiced his concerns, but he represents one of the landowners there, and he said, you know, it'd be good if we could get together on this, and maybe we reach out for some congressional funds or something. We'd want to do that as a group, not independently, if we did do that, but so we do have that stakeholder who's come to the table too, you know, thinking that far downstream, so that, you know, the system expands, you know, all the way to the lake, really.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it would be a gorgeous little place to have a little walkway down on the side, thing that, you know, people could walk.
You know, and to Anne's point earlier, there are folks that would like to see that natural bottom again, you know, natural stream. I don't know if you could pull that off. We're pretty built out there, but those folks are gonna have a stake in it, and I'm sure that whether we directly invite them or not, they're gonna catch wind of what we're doing. They're gonna have something to say about it, and they should. I mean,
20, 30, or 40 years ago, when we were using the scouts, we used to get down through and, on the day, weekend, and clean it up. Walk in the stream, pick up the tires and the trash and junk and everybody. We would clean it up. You know, made it nice little brook.
we don't have issues with that, you know.
No, not
debris.
anymore, no.
Not these days. The Beavers did get in there a couple weeks ago, and Chief got in touch with IFW. They were gonna reach out to a trapper directly, and I think that's been mitigated.
Right.
So that happens every now and again. Unless it's you, Ned, going down there and putting the beaver dam in.
Oh, that was me. But what's interesting is by the Logging Museum, there's a couple of gorgeous walking trails that weren't there before. They've been put in, they go down to the pond at a great place where you can see the stumps and whatnot in the water, where the smelts used to run in. It's beautiful at that time. Another route takes you to another smaller stream, which comes down from the Dallas Hill. The water's colder, trout are colder.
Yeah.
Picnic table a few places, but to sit there or stand there by the stream from Gold Pond or the other one, you got the blue heron, you got some fish rising, you got other birds. It's gorgeous in there. Unfortunately, across the pond, you can see Rangeley Inn. You know you're not too far from civilization, but it's really, really pristine back there.
Much better than years ago when we used to put warm sewage water
Whole different topic.
Came in, the whole pond was green.
I remember that.
Remember that, Joe?
Yeah, Reggie certainly helped that. He cleared that up. Reggie Gouvernaut.
No,
I was
it's
here, there
more
was a
than
dump, there was a dump with it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Really good.
Oh, that, okay.
I mean, open landfill dump, they just dumped everything right in the pond.
Thank you, Mother Nature. Reminds us of the old commercial about an Indian Native American paddling down a stream pristine. And all of a sudden there's something floating, and then there's a box floating and a couple of cans. And before you know it, there's pollution everywhere, and a big tear flows down his cheek.
We're gonna push the minutes to the next meeting, because Chris, that stuff with the wedding and everything.
Al, you got anything else you want to add?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Thanks for zooming in tonight.
Of course, anytime.
All right.
So, what are we looking at here? February,
January 6th.
January 6th, yep. January 6th.
All right.
Motion adjourned. You want to second that?
Second.
All in favor? All in favor?
All in favor.
I'm assuming Ally's raising her hand.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Yeah.
Have a good night, Ally.
Yeah, drive safe.
Hey, we'll see you later.
Thanks again, folks, for coming. We appreciate it.
See you with some.